And still on this particular story, remember that the Deputy National Police Commissioner, and that is, of course, Shadrack Sibiya, is responsible for crime detection, has now been placed on leave. And of course, that is a leave of absence, as you heard the National Police Commissioner describing it there. But of course, this is not the first time that the police find themselves under scrutiny. Jakkie Cilliers, the Chairman of the ISS Board of Trustees and Head of the African Futures and Innovation Program at the Institute, joins us this evening. A very good evening to you, Jakkie, and thank you so much for your time. So, the Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrack Sibiya, has been requested to take a leave of absence, and this is the latest development in this particular story. Your reaction?
Well, you know, the most important function of executives, whether they are in Parliament or the President himself, is to appoint competent people. And the essential problem that we have throughout the police, with intelligence, in the military, in the criminal justice system, is that appointments are being made not for competence and ethics, but are being made for political purposes, apparently. And this is a problem that cuts across the entire criminal justice security cluster. But it also, of course, affects our state institutions, state-owned enterprises. And this is, I think, the challenge that many of us are calling for. In 2012, the National Planning Commission called for the establishment of an independent body, small panel, that does the senior police appointments. And the ISS has made this call repeatedly over the last 2 decades almost. But this is just not happening. Until we move senior appointments within the criminal justice system, within the intelligence, even within the military, possibly, out of the way of political control, we are going to sit with this problem.
And when you look at these allegations, of course, they're quite serious, but there's a history here of problems within this particular organization. And one wonders if the inquiry that has now been established is the right platform to tackle all of this.
Well, you know, we have had so many commissions of inquiry. It's not the investigation that is the problem. It is the action that follows it that is often lacking. If you, for example, read the report by Professor Sandy Africa after the, let's call it the Zuma riots, none of that was really implemented. We're still sitting with problems, particularly within intelligence, apparently. There's no transparency, and this is the problem is not the understanding the problem. The problem is having the political will to act on the recommendations that are made, and that's what South Africans are looking for. So let's hope this time it will be different.
And when you look at crime intelligence, for example, and the problem that it's had over time, the Minister and the Presidency today says that organized crime undermines the country's security, social stability, economic development, and the rule of law, and also says something, of course, that is not new, that it goes beyond our borders with drug cartels, among others. It's been known for a long time. Why is it not being dealt with decisively?
Well, because of a lack of political will. These are essentially political problems that we are facing. It is because there's no political will, and we've discussed this very often. If there is a clear willingness, all these problems can be resolved. Look, for example, what's happened in the revenue services. Look what happened historically under P.W. Botha, of all people, when he cleaned up the old Bureau of State Security and installed Neil Barnard as the head of the National Intelligence Agency. The critical thing is the appointment of key competent people, not for political ends, that can clean out and sort out the problems that we have within the police, within intelligence, within the military, within the criminal justice system. None of these problems they're all solvable.
Yeah.
In many instances, in the case of the police, it's really going back to basics, I think.
Let's talk about this, going back to basics and this cleanup, because the minister, right, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, says earlier on that they talking about a decontamination of the entire criminal justice system in its entirety, and they want to decontaminate it, from corruption and criminality. So you are talking about this cleanup as well, and you say it needs to go to basics. How basic is basic at the, especially at a practical level?
It starts with the appointment of somebody who is a professional police officer to run the police, not the appointment of somebody who has the favor of the current minister, whatever the case may be, and to insulate the police from political interference. Until such time as you have a national commissioner and police generals that are appointed independently and for their competence, their professionalism, to leave that person and that body to then deal with the problems. But we already have a state that is overly regulated, and we think that we can resolve political problems with regulations. The problem starts with the political will really to implement. Let's take the Zondo Commission. You can take any commission of inquiry in South Africa. Brilliant analysis, recommendations, but then when it comes to, okay, what are we going to do about this? How are we really going to appoint independent people that are competent and that generally comes from within the ranks? And there are many capable policemen and women in South Africa. Until we get to that point, I don't think we're really going to resolve these issues. It's not the detail that is the problem of what we need to do. It is we need to insulate the police from political and other interference and let them manage themselves. Yeah,
and you do have people, though, who are saying that in light of all these allegations that are in the public domain, we've seen what, of course, now, has been the move by the National Police Commissioner. Others are saying that also you need to treat some of these, in fact, the allegations that are coming from the Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal with some caution until everything is proven in the public domain. Is that your take as well?
Yes, I think, we in the public domain have got a certain amount of information. I am quite sure that there's a significant amount of analysis and detail and machinations and politics and money that is behind the scenes that we are not privy to. So I think one must be careful to rush to conclusions about what is happening and who is guilty of and so on. There are allegations that have been made. The president has now made an announcement of another commission of inquiry. And the problem is not that South Africans have a problem with the commission of inquiry. The problem is that over decades, we have just seen that the recommendations are not implemented, and that the key structural requirement, independence, for example, of the National Prosecuting Authority, real independence, is not established, nor in the appointment of senior police officials. And now we are in a situation where, by the recommendations of the Sandy Africa Commission of Inquiry, the intelligence seems to be totally rotten. It's been used for political purposes for more than a decade. The same in crime intelligence in the police. I think you can only solve them with the appointment of the appointment of capable people, and to isolate that appointment from political interference, so that the criminal justice system leadership, particularly within the police and other, are insulated from political interference.
Thank you so much, Jakkie, for your time. Appreciate it. That's Jakkie Cilliers there, who is the chairman of the ISS Board of Trustees and head of the African Futures and Innovation Program at the Institute.